yes, it's time for another album ranking. Today we are ranking none other than the legendary black metal band Mayhem. So as you all know, for those that are familiar with black metal, you would know that Mayhem was once a controversial band, a controversial figure in the black metal scene, from burning churches to cold-blooded murder and suicide. Their history is legendary, and today it's time to rank Mayhem. Now, I did a ranking before on my other channel, which unfortunately was deleted. But you know what? We're starting from scratch on this new revived channel, and I'll be redoing all my rankings again since my opinions have changed on a few albums. So before I start, pop your favorite albums down below, rank them from your least favorite to your very favorite. Okay, so coming up last is, and the worst album I think by Mayhem, is none other than Esoteric Warfare. I don't know, man, it's the production on this. I know the production, black metal is a hit and miss sometimes. There's good black metal production, and then there's Esoteric Warfare production. Attila is on vocals on this, and yeah, although the vocals at times are all over the place, songwriting wise, it's still a good album, but it's the production that lets it down. Hard-hitting songs like Watchers, Trinity, and Throne of Time having an ebb and flow to them, but the production creates a very murky sound, making the songs sound quite shit. Although I enjoy this album, but if it had a better production, this would be a lot higher than it is now. Not to mention, also the track listing is a bit off in my opinion, and Esoteric Warfare drags on and on and on and on like your balls are rubbing against shards of glass on the floor as you're trying to reach for that door, but you're too drunk to do so. The album could be a lot better, but instead it's a slog, and there are some few good handful of songs you could say, but not as memorable as the other albums I'm gonna mention. Okay. So next up is the strangest Mayhem album ever. It's the Grand Declaration of War. First up, the album cover always gives me the heebie-jeebies because it's a live bird and it's trapped in barbed wire. The new cover on this album is so much more pleasing, and it's now one of the best Mayhem covers. So this album is very good in my opinion, but I just feel that there are way too many pauses and short tracks. Running around 50 minutes, Mayhem decided to change the sound to a more avant-garde sound, more of an avant-garde approach. Some would even argue if this is even black metal. In my opinion, they really play around with the prog metal elements on this album. Enjoyable songs like A Grand Declaration of War, Crystallized Deconstruction, which is more slow and plodding, and one of their longest songs on their discography is Completion in Science of Agony Part 1, whereas Part 2 is a major disappointment to end off the album. Maniac is on vocals here, one of the first Mayhem vocalists. They wanted to start fresh with Mayhem and move away from the past after the controversial debut album of their Mysteriis Dom Sathanas. It's a weird album overall, but there are some great enjoyable songs and some great guitar work. Maniac's vocals fit very well in Grand Declaration of War, and the band really channel in their inner prog with odd time signatures and a swirly guitars, including interesting passages you would never think to hear from a black metal band. Overall good album, but this may be too ambitious for Mayhem because everyone was expecting the dark and evil side of Mayhem, something out of the debut. Instead we got some crazy weird songs from their sophomore album. And yeah, a lot of people would have this album lower than Esoteric Warfare. One album I feel is just slightly better is Ordo Ad Chao. It suffers the same old problem with Esoteric Warfare, but it's a much more better version of Esoteric Warfare. From the up to standard traditional sounding album Chimera, the next was the 2007 release Ordo Ad Chao. There were a few lineup changes, but Mayhem stayed true to the sound from Chimera on this album. Sure, the album isn't as good as Chimera, but the musicianship is very strong on this. The drumming is absolutely spectacular, and Attila comes back on vocals after Maniac decided to leave the band. Great melodies and riffs on this. Love this album, and the production is one of the worst sounding albums, not as bad sounding as Esoteric Warfare. Sure, Ordo Ad Chao plays around with doom on this LP and the strong layer of murkiness. His vocals are very weird in this. He goes War of Water with that just infectious in your face riff. War of Water. The Chaotic and Evil Illuminate Eliminate. One of their longest songs, and Sucking Horns, which is just raw vocals and a bass groove. This album is fantastic with just so many surprises along the way. The songwriting is good, but it's not great. Therefore, that's why it's a little bit lower in the middle, but in my opinion, there's not one bad album. Even Esoteric Warfare is pretty good. Ordo Ad Chao is a fantastic album and will no doubt make it to my best metal albums of 2007. And high up the list, I may add. But the next albums I'm going to mention have more of a layer and striking atmosphere to them, and the songwriting is more cohesive. Speaking of a more cohesive album, we're talking about a predecessor, Chimera. And this was the last album with Maniac. Yes! Yes! Yes, this is a fucking great album from start to finish, and I'll call this a masterpiece. Remember, this was the album after Grand Declaration of War, and it seemed like Mayhem copped a little flack from that release. But the band redeemed themselves with such a solid release like Chimera. Not as avant-garde as Grand Declaration of War, but holy shit, this album is fucking tight with just soaring guitars, intense heavy drums, and fucking evil vocals that would rip your heart out. Although this album was my second favorite, it has dropped a bit because I now really appreciate the latest release, which has really grown on me. Going back to Chimera, this is a very dark and evil album harkening evil melodies. Songs like Hall, Dark Night of the Soul, the harshing, aggressive but catchy song My Death. Sort of Dreams and the self-titled track are just fucking bangers, and let me tell you, your head won't stop banging up and down until the final note is hit. Every single song is amazing on this, and every track is warranted on Chimera. So next up is their latest release, Daemon. And yeah, I'll say this, Damon is a black metal masterpiece. The production is phenomenal on this, and the sound is so damn evil with just unrelentless songs like The Dying False King, Worthless Abominations, Destroyed, Daemon Spawn. His vocals on this are absolutely fucking insane. Attila, I feel, improves his vocals from the debut album, incorporating such an evil tone. His vocals on this are so damn fucking demonic, and I love it. You got the guitar-driven Song of Worms and Ruins, and the aggressive in-your-face song Aeon Demonium. This album I feel is the most heaviest in the discography, and holy shit, these songs hit fucking hard. Not to mention, the fucking album cover is amazing. Love the demon on the front cover, representing that this album is gonna be brutal and heavy. The production's phenomenal on this, which makes the sound even more heavy. You can hear every instrumental showcased on Daemon, and yeah, this LP is a grower, and it grows on you so much. If I remember, Daemon was released in 2019, so it's nearly been 3 years since its release, and sitting second, holy shit, it tells you how good this album is. Now, I know I've missed a few EPs and a live performance, which a few people would rank them higher than the studio albums, which I don't fucking get. Mainly because Dead, who tragically died before the debut album, was featured in live in Leipzig, and some fans put it over Mysteriis Dom Sathanas. What? Like Music of Destruction? But this is my ranking, cunts, and I'm not adding a live album. The live album is amazing, but it doesn't belong in this ranking, and this includes Death Crush the EP. No EPs or live albums, you got that? If you don't like that, well, stick a breadstick up your ass. So you all know what my #1 album for Mayhem, without fucking doubt, it's Mysteriis Dom Sathanas. And holy shit, and this was my first Mayhem album I heard, and I fucking loved it. I remember Questy picking this album for me to hear back in 2019. He said it was the most evil, most haunting album ever, and I agreed with him back then, and I agree with him to this very day. The history around this album is legendary. We saw murder and carnage in real life. Euronymous back then was the mastermind on Mayhem, and of course we all know the story of Varg Vikernes, aka the creator of Burzum, who brutally stabbed Euronymous because, let's face it, Euronymous was a cunt. This video is just a ranking, and I can go on about my thoughts on the past history of Mayhem, but save that for another video. The Mysteriis Dom Sathanas is a fucking black metal masterpiece. It's so damn dark and evil, this album, with amazing songs like Funeral Fog, Freezing Moon. The riffs are so damn haunting on this, and there's so much cold atmosphere. From the dark past, buried by time and dust, and the self-titled track is phenomenal. Attila's vocals are so damn weird, but they seamlessly work on this album. He replaced Dead on vocals, and ironically, Dead was the main writer for lyrics on Mysteriis Dom Sathanas. Yeah, the dark tremolo guitar and the overall production makes this album so fucking evil in tone, and that's why it's the best Mayhem album and one of the best black metal albums of all fucking time. So yeah, that's it for the Mayhem album ranking. I hope you did enjoy it. Let me know in the comments below your favourite album for this legendary black metal band. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion? Keep discussion going in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.